The basics look like this. When a person is executing on a task, you give them a task, they have to think it through and figure out what to do. It stimulates a part of the brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So that's the front part of the brain here. You can imagine, you've seen pictures of the brain, so you can imagine what that looks like on the inside. You're seeing activity in that part of the brain. Now, there's another part of the brain that's really essential in this way as well, and we call it the nucleus accumbens. It's the pleasure center of the brain. If you were to see the brain from the front right here, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the executive center of the brain is right here. The nucleus accumbens is down here. What happens when somebody's really working on something they find absolutely compelling and interesting? It floods this whole part of the brain with activity in a way that actually stimulates the pleasure center of the brain. So when you work at something you really find interesting, it brings pleasure to you. The studies in media are really disconcerting in this way because we're finding that video games, for example, are really overwhelming kind of media, HD TV and things like that are so amazing and incredible in 3D. It stimulates the nucleus accumbens, the pleasure center of the brain, by draining blood away from the executive center of the brain. So it gives people the sense of accomplishment without ever having actually done anything. It has the same effect in the brain as somebody, except for the actual brain damage part of it, as somebody who smokes crack. It gives them the sense that they've done something really great when in fact they've done nothing at all. That's the effect that so much of the media has on kids today. And people ask me, well, why are so many young men passive? I can tell you the answer. It's very simple. We've arranged the culture to trick their brains into thinking that they've done something when in fact they haven't.
One of the basic principles of brain functioning and brain development is captured in a little phrase that the neuroscientists like to use, and that's the phrase, the neurons that fire together wire together. Now, an English translation of that is whatever the brain does a lot of is what the brain gets good at. And, that's true whether someone is learning how to play tennis, whether someone is learning how to do math, or whether someone is learning, spending hours and hours playing video games.
There is a great need for concern. Every parent needs to be serious in thinking through all of these media issues. Now, 10% of children, according to the studies that have been done on this, are actually addicted to video games. They don't even have a category in the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual for this kind of addiction. But the scholars have found that when you look at the addiction to video games, it parallels one-to-one a gambling addiction. So parents who are not concerned are actually saying, it's okay with me if my child has a crippling addiction.
I was honored to represent the United States at an international conference on internet safety. When I arrived in Seoul, South Korea, I discovered that they do not hesitate to use the word addiction because what they told me when I asked them about the use of the term, they said, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. And we have people for whom video games and internets have taken over their lives.